Recording in progress.
Good evening. This is the regular meeting of the Oregon City Library Board on September 25th, 2024 at 5 p.m. Present are Larry Osborne, Lisa Oreskovich, Cynthia Andrews, Heidi Blackwell from the board, and Denise Butcher and Greg Williams from the library. Our first order of business will be a presentation by Barrett, updating us on the student library card project.
Cynthia, thank you for joining us tonight, Barrett. We really appreciate it. So I will share my screen and then we'll be like an old classroom thing. You tell me.
All right, sounds good. Okay, nothing in.
Let me find it. I have it open. Full screen. Okay.
Cool. All right. Thank you, Greg, for managing the slides and kind of pivoting to make this adjust this last minute. So most of you know me. I'm Barrett Miller. I'm the lead youth services librarian at Oregon City Public Library, and I'm going to talk to you, give you an overview of our new student library card partnership program with the Oregon City School District. So next slide, please. An open library card program. So as of September 1st of 2024, OCSD students are able to register for a linked student library card as part of their new student registration or annual verification for returning students. The one exception is that Alliance Charter Academy students are already, their students are already homeschool students, and they qualify for our educator card, which comes with some their parent educators qualify for the educator card, and that comes with more access to the student library card. So since they were these benefits through the educator card program, the district chose to opt them out this year. But what the student library card provides is 5 checkouts and 5 holds at a time for physical items, and no late fees on any of those items. So if there's a lost or damaged item, those charges will apply, but there will be no late fees for any items checked out on these cards, which was a huge reason that this partnership was approved with the school district, is us being able to offer this program to the students fine free. It also provides full access to online resources and goes through the full school year and through the summer, so until August 31st, 2025. Next slide, please. So a little bit about the history of the student library card program. This sort of grew out of the 2022 task force that Link put together, called the Youth Access Card Task Force. We jokingly call ourselves Yacht Club because we needed a good acronym. And so this was inspired by the Youth Access Card program that Washington County Cooperative Library Services offers, where they have their youth access card started as a special type of temporary library card, and then eventually morphed into being the default card type for their own data load cards with school districts, which is what student library card partnership is, a data load, because instead of registering each card manually, the school district obtains consent to share the data and then shares all of the information with us in a big data load that automatically generates those cards in the system, using the wonderful technology to automate the process. So the directors group asked a group of us from throughout the county to investigate what Washington County was doing with this program and what elements of it might make sense for Link. And so we spent about 6 months working with the youth services consultants at Washington County and discussing amongst ourselves, and came up with three proposals for DG based on that work. One of which was we recommended the formation of a student library card task force to investigate what these data load partnerships would look like. We also made some small changes to our temporary cards to make them more accessible to youth, which temporary cards are for when people don't have proof of address with them, or maybe for youth who don't have a parent guardian physically present to sign up. How we can help get library card access to kids who might not have, a piece of postmark mail or a utility bill in their name, which most kids don't. And then Also, we implemented we recommended the implementation of a 10-cent per day standardized fine schedule throughout the county, initially on youth items, but it was adopted for adult items, and I believe all but 2 of our link libraries. So we're working on lowering our late fees and standardizing those countywide, hopefully to collect some better data, so that, because we really struggled with collecting fine data when we were trying to estimate the financial impact of this. So the Student Library Card Task Force launched in fall 2023 because there was interest from many libraries throughout the county, but it was clear as we were investigating the whole concept as part of the Yacht Club Task Force that it was really going to require a different group of people at the table, doing some very specific research and development and implementation. So Yacht Club was disbanded and we formed SLIC, the Student Library Card Task Force. Again, we like to make those acronyms catchy. And we originally it was one of the directors, link directors, who had implemented the student library card or the equivalent student library card program in a Washington County library, as well as staff in the Sandy Public Library. But the Sandy Public Library, after reaching out to their school district to kind of get more information in the early stages of the task force, Oregon Trail School District said, actually, we're not comfortable. We're not ready to do this yet. We want to see what other school districts do. Because they initially asked, and then once they kind of realized what the partnership entailed, they felt like it was not an appropriate thing for them to take on. So it ended up sort of transitioning to being primarily a project done by the Oregon City library staff in partnership with our school district, because we'd initially had first conversation about this in August of 2020. I think for anybody realized quite how difficult the transition to back to school was going to fall. And the partnership already had like sort of verbal agreements in place. And then by the time we were ready to move forward with that, Link was interested in doing something more formalized. So it took us several years to really pick that program back up. But the school district was still very eager and excited to be on board. Oregon City Library, we joke that we like to be first at a lot of things. We love being the pilot library. At Oregon City, in the school district in general, the high school mascot is the pioneers, and the idea of being first and going first is something that I think a lot of us in our community see as a community value. And so I think there's a lot of enthusiasm for things, which is really great. Next slide, please. So a timeline of how this all rolled out is that last fall, we met with staff from Oregon City Library, from our Link Network office, who manage our patron record database. So they're the ones who do all of the logistical pieces of the data transfer, as well as staff from the school district, both their administrative staff, as well as their IT and technical staff. We had done during the initial Yacht Club task force, and then again during SLIC, we pulled together lots and lots of great information from what Washington County was doing, and we put together some preliminary guidelines that we received from other libraries, both within Link and from within the area, to kind of guide our process. The first step of a partnership like this is signing a memorandum of agreement, which is basically a legal document outlining the parameters of the data sharing and how the data will be used, and ensuring that everybody's privacy policies are being followed. Sort of all of the, dotting our I's and crossing our T's with the legal component, because we are sharing student data between 2 different databases, between several different organizations, and it's really important that we're protecting data and privacy. And making sure that everybody is in agreement about what this process is going to be, what everyone is expected to do, and all of those things, so that we have a good, strong foundation for sort of shaping and guiding that partnership. But that actually was, that's one of the pieces that's the easiest part, but it actually went, I was pleasantly surprised by how it went. Again, the school district was really great to work with us. We just kind of went through the list of what needed to be done, and it was very easy for us we had a very similar vision, and so it was very easy for us to align what we were going to do for the program. In February of 2024, the registration goes live. The registration form is part of the district. The district has their own student record management software. The parent portal is called Parent View, that into access their students' information, sign forms, all of those things. And registration for incoming kindergartners starts at the end of February. So for this coming school year, we had to have everything ready to go by the end of February, so we could have that ready for the incoming kindergartners when they completed their registration forms. We did a small pilot program in May, the Holcomb first graders who came to the library on a field trip. So we, kind of did a mini version where we sent them a copy of the form and sent their everyone who opted in had their data sent over and a student library card created. And we test drove on a field trip and got some really good information about how to manage that. And then over the summer, the data procedures were finalized. One thing that's really exciting about this is that when we initially started the process, what Washington County did and what was recommended to us as sort of the standard practice at the time was that you collected everybody's information through like mid-October. You then sent that information from the school districts to the libraries, and cards were activated December 1st, which is a long wait after the start of the school year. And one of the staff members at the school district who does their data management was a really strong advocate for it. That is too late. We should be doing it, earlier in the year, and we should be doing it more frequently because everybody else that the school district works with, for the most part, students. First, they have sort of things like this where students, will opt into a program or a sort of a third-party partnership with the district, and that happens overnight. And so, happening just once December 1st really felt like it was not going to meet what they were hoping for. And we are very lucky here in Link to have David Lippert at our network office. We had an update to our software in June that enabled us to automate these uploads. So we tested everything out over the summer, worked out all of the bugs, and yes, there were bugs. But we got it set up so that we upload the student library card data every Sunday night. And so students can opt in at any time during the school year. Their parents can either fill out the form in Parent View, or they can have a school librarian or a school secretary check the box in their student account, opt them into the student library card, and they'll have that card activated in no more than 7 days. So the Monday after they check that box, it'll be ready to go. So the cards went live for all students who'd enrolled August 31st on September 1st, and then anybody after September 1st, they get their new card. New cards get created automatically every Monday. Next slide. So the process is that the parent completes a registration form in Parent View, that online portal. The school district has it set up so that all of that information is uploaded to a secure file server daily. We have very specific pieces of information that we need to create that card and to manage that record in our account. All of this information and explanation exactly how it is used is included in the option form, so parents know exactly what information is being shared and how it's being used, so that they can make give informed consent for their student to participate. Sunday nights, that student information is imported into Workflows, which is our software, which again means students can join the program at any point during the school year. We no longer have that, mid-October deadline, and then December 1st go live date. It is weekly. And then we have an automated welcome email that goes out every Monday to students, to new card holders with just like kind of their a welcome letter and their account info. The student ID number is the library card number. So no physical cards are issued. We have some fill-in-the-blank paper ones that we provided at the public library, and that we've sent out to the schools to provide in the school library, so students can just use that ID number as a library card number. And then all changes to the account because of the automation process, all changes to the account have to be made to the student's Parent View account. So if somebody wants to update an email address or change their preferred name or their chosen name, that would all happen through the district side. We don't mess with records in our system. So just some preliminary data. We had, as of September 8th, we had almost 2,400 students enrolled. Based on the numbers I got from David Lippert last week, we're really close to 2,500 right now of students with student library cards. And we also included an option on our form to opt out because you already have a Link library card. And we have almost 700 kids who said, no, thanks, I've already got a card. So we're looking at over 3,000 of the 7,000 students in the school district now have library cards. That 677 to start with having library cards, and now almost 2,500. That's pretty great. And then the number of students who just opted out and said, nope, we don't want a library card is really small, just about 200. Over almost 600 skipped to that form. It wasn't a required form as part of the annual verification. And then about 3,000 students haven't completed that, partly because I think that annual verification is often like contact information. And if your information hasn't changed, parents don't necessarily they're not required to go in, and it's put out like, hey, we want to update all of your contact information. We need it. But those forms not all people complete the form. So we do have some people who haven't gone in yet. Which is okay. The goal of this program is to, one, we want to get more library cards for kids, and two, we really want to take the burden off families in creating that library card. So not having to make a special trip down to the library. Particularly, there are some communities and some families who really don't feel comfortable going into a big station, especially like kind of a government-y affiliated organization and presenting photo ID. That can be kind of scary for folks. So being able to check a box in a form and have that account created automatically, it saves people a huge, gives parents who are already busy and overwhelmed and often spread very, very thin, or who might feel uncomfortable about coming to the library for whatever reason. It makes it very, very easy to get kids cards. And it also, because we got approved to offer these fine-free, it also takes away some of the financial concern, because there are some parents who don't want to get their kids a card and then be responsible for the late fees and see all of that happening. This just, it makes it a lot easier and a lot more accessible for 2,500 kids in our community, which is, nothing to sneeze at. Next slide, please. Next steps are continuing to monitor the program implementation and identify what additional changes that might need to be made. We've got a couple things that have come up around the school wasn't comfortable giving us the student's full birth date, so we just have the birth year in the records, causing a little confusion. And then there's no way to change your notice preference, whether you want emails versus texts. We didn't set that up this year. So looking at that, if these rise to the level of being problems where we need to go back for next year and say, hey, let's revisit this birth date question, revisit how we do missions. So we'll just continue to see how it goes, see what questions or comments we get, and see what we might need to adjust for next year. We're also putting together a toolkit for other link libraries to implementing their own student library card partnerships. We've got a couple of libraries who are very eager to take what we've done this year and go out and start offering this to other school districts in our service area using this model that we've piloted. And then we'll just be getting ready for that 25-26 school year enrollment, which comes up on us in February. So kind of quick turnaround there, but now that it's up and launched, actually, like the day-to-day, the ongoing implementation is going to be a much less of a much lighter lift, for that metaphor. Next slide, please. I just also wanted to thank everybody who made this happen. David Lippert at Links Network Office, I regularly refer to him as a wizard. He is amazing. He created the library's portion of the data load procedures, including the whole automation piece that made those weekly updates possible. His counterpart at OCSD is also named David, so David Klusman. And so he also was a huge part of making that automated data load work. And he also worked closely with Clackamas ESD to get some of that those data load procedures out, because the ESD provides that technical support. And excitingly, the ESD provides that technical support for all school districts in Clackamas County, and all but one of our school districts uses the same software that Oregon City School District does, that parent view. And so when other libraries want to adopt this program, the technical data load piece for the schools has already been figured out by the ESD. So we don't just have like all the procedures and all of these other things in place, or that, our guidelines of like, here's what you need to do. The people implementing that data load centrally for the county already know how to do this with us. So it'll be very scalable to other districts. I also wanted to thank Heather at OCSD. She runs their student software portal. And so she built the registration forms, and she was the one who was really influential in advocating for getting that weekly data load set up, which I think is a huge win for our patrons. Greg, Rick, the director at Link, and then Dale Spitzer, the superintendent of schools for Oregon City School District. They were the ones who made sure who handled getting the MOAs passed around between all the different legal teams, the different people sort of had to sign those, and getting that paperwork completed and signed so that we were able to offer that program. because that was what we needed to make all of this possible. And then Doug Stoll, the librarian, and Caitlin Burks from the communication coordinator at OCSD, who have been great supports in connecting staff, teachers, families, students. I know Doug went around to every English classroom at the high school and talked up the program and showed students how to do it and got them opted in for student library cards. So, and Caitlin's been for the school secretaries to make sure they know how to opt everybody in. So they've been really helpful as well. Next slide. I think the last one. Yeah, and then I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
You answered one around the partnerships. I was curious to see if there was any other districts that were, or, partnerships that were in the works. So sounds like that's moving forward, which is awesome because the card is a link card, right? So that it can be used as a card would be in the link system.
Yes, they can use it at any library in Clackamas County.
So the students that have two cards, like if they already had a card and then they opted in, how is that being handled?
Yeah, that was one where we had a lot of back and forth, and we kind of changed our mind. Or not changed our minds, but reverse course a couple of times before we settled on what our current practice is, which we're not systematically deduping cards. And we're going to treat it similar to how we treat our educator card, which is a card that teachers can get, and they can get it into their personal card, and it's kind of related to their education material. So if families want to, if they already have a general card and they'd also like a student card, or what we've seen is we've seen several families signing up for a student library card and then coming into the library before their student card is activated and wanting to check out. There's a little, because we changed, initially it was like your card will be activated September 1st. We didn't have our language real clear about the weekly uploads for the kind of first batch of people after September 1st. So there were people coming in wanting to check out books and their cards hadn't been activated yet. So we had to open them a second card. And that's, that's fine. Like if the choice, like they're managing the accounts, we want to reduce them as much as possible, which is why we encourage people, do you already have a job? Opt out of this program. We do encourage it's really better to just pick one, and that's the one that you're going to use. But if people have to, that increases the staff time of administering the program to the point where it makes it no longer feasible and sustainable. And like the worst, when we designed the data load, we figured out how to code the records so that we can exclude the student library card records from some of our data if we need to, if we're worried that we've got too many duplicate cards and it's going to, corrupt data for some sort of data set that we're using for a very specific purpose. So, the worst case scenario is that a kid has two library cards,
Yes.
The world's not going to end. And particularly the student library card is our general cards have 80 checkouts and they do come with fines. But the student library cards only have 5 checkouts. So it's not a huge, it's not like you're getting 2 cards that allow you to do 80 checkouts and you're just checking out huge volumes of stuff and, having to deal with the possible billing concerns that come with that. So yeah. So if there's duplicate accounts, there's duplicate accounts, and we prefer to only have one per student, but the cost of doing that is kind of too high. And our bottom line is we want kids to use the library. And if that means some of them accidentally or maybe even on purpose have 2 cards, okay, we can live with that.
And honestly, that's something that's changed in a couple of years. We talked about this at the directors group for years and years and years, and it was always more, can't have duplicate cards. That would just be a terrible thing. Well, but now keep access to materials, which is what we all want anyway. So
on the flip side of that, I get just a little communication on, because the student cards are only good for a year, have to be opted. So the idea that people understand that when they go to register next year, which it is pretty seamless as a parent who did it.
Yeah.
It just popped up.
Yeah.
You just click the button. I got the email. I just looked, I kept it because I was excited. Then I got the email, then he got it might be a duplicate card. Family. I just want to do it because
we want people to have library cards. That's
thank you. Yes. Right.
Our goal.
Yeah. So we're already looking at the language that we have for next year's library card form. And so I think the box that you check, there's going to be an option to say renew my student's library card. And then we do have the option to send out a mass email being student library card is expire, on August 31st. go into form and parent view to extend it. If the cards aren't renewed, the retention policy specifies that we have to keep those cards on file for at least 2 years. So if someone comes and goes and they forget to renew their card, they can always just, renew it in parent view, and then it'll be reactivated like it's still in the system. It will just be extended out. So if somebody misses that renewal date, they will be temporarily, like their record will still be in the system, and it's very easy to turn the card back on.
Any other questions or comments? I'll make is that Barrett forgot one very important acknowledgement on her slide. So Barrett is too humble to put her name on there, but Barrett was really the driving force behind this for the past several years. So thrilled that Barrett had the energy and the patience to see this through. It would not have happened without Barrett's leadership.
Thank you.
So kudos, Barrett.
It's one of those things where I was like, well, I want to do this, and I want it to be done in a way that I think is going to work. So if I do it, then I'll do what I want.
Yeah, the only possible option is do it.
And I will say, I very much appreciate all my colleagues on the link task who also didn't task forces who didn't get specific mentions on the slide. But I was always very much like, okay, I'm willing to drive this bus as long as everyone's cool with putting me in the driver's seat. And I was like, I very much appreciated the support of everybody in the group about making sure I was representing our group discussions and our group feedback, but I very, very much appreciate my link colleagues who are willing to be like, yes, Barrett, you can drive the bus. You are not the pigeon. We're not going to keep you off the bus. You can drive the seat and you can do this. I very much appreciated the support of my link colleagues and being able to, to spearhead this without any, overt power struggles around who was going to do this and why. It ended up just kind of working out that we were in a position to take this on when nobody else was. And I know that there's a lot of enthusiasm from our fellow link libraries to be getting more districts on board next couple of years. So it's very exciting. It's something that a lot of people have wanted for a long time, and it's good to have those. I think a lot of other school districts are curious, but they want to see it done. And now that we've done it, I think there are going to be a lot more school districts who are ready to jump on board now that there's an established program, and we can kind of point to it as something that we can do in Clackamas County, and we can do well. And in some ways, based on what the initial conversations we had about what Washington County is doing, we were able to really innovate and do some new and things that kind of went beyond the model that they, the 5-year-old model they presented us with. So it's very exciting to be able to be part of pushing that forward for our community.
Are there any more questions for Barrett? Thank you very much, Barrett. Your usual thorough, enthusiastic job was great. Appreciate all the work that you and your colleagues and leaders have done on this. It's a great project. I would have loved to have this available to my kids. I mean, they always had a library card, but this was so easy. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
And you're more than welcome to stay, Barrett, but enjoy your evening.
Thank you. Goodbye.
And thank you also. I mean, the school district has been a great partner. This wouldn't have happened without the school district support and enthusiasm. So we appreciate working with them. We was a great
important to them, I believe.
Yeah, and I know we had some board support. So thank you.
Absolutely. So
Okay.
All right, moving on. On the second item, approval of minutes, we're going to pin those to November. The minutes from last month's meeting weren't available, so next time we'll have 2 sets of meetings to approve, meeting minutes to approve. So moving on to our Royal Library Director's report.
Yes. So thank you, Cynthia's being very, very kind. It was human error that didn't get the minutes attached to packet. I'm still learning the new software for putting together packets. So I guess we'll have 2 of them. Luckily now they're much shorter, so easier. I don't have anything specific to point out in the packet that I sent you. The one thing, you didn't get the library statistics as part of that. I put a note. There was just an error that we discovered in the ones that get sent from our county office, and they weren't able to get that corrected for me to incorporate it for the packet deadline. So that was next week. It was a minor error. But we want to make sure that we get those corrected before I put them into official packets. The two things I will point out, I put in our updated, our new service area population numbers every fiscal year, or after the end of the fiscal year, usually right around now. Our county office prepares population estimates that are used for a variety of things. The most important one they're used for is the distribution of library district dollars. So these population numbers are what the percentages of what gets distributed. These are also what get reported to the state as part of the state library statistics every year. So I just gave those to you with not much change in the Oregon City ones. City population went up a little bit, but nothing outsized. For 1 year, we were ahead of Happy Valley. We had the largest population, but they keep growing faster than anybody. So, and then the other thing I put in there, just kind of it's something I don't like to share, but I feel it's important to share. So this week, the state library tracks challenges in the state of Oregon to library materials, and every year they put together an annual report. It's called the program is the Oregon Intellectual Freedom Clearinghouse. And so libraries, when they receive challenges or complaints, we send them to that library. The state library collates those statistics and pushes them out. Like everywhere else in the country, challenges are at an all-time high. This is not where we would like to be. I wish the environment out there was a little different, especially given what topics and what kinds of materials are being challenged more often. I feel really, 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 really good. And I'm grateful to the library board for the changes we've made to our collection development policy about a year and a half ago. I think we have a much stronger collection development policy now, and that if we were ever to receive one of these challenges, we are much more equipped to deal with it and to maintain the access that I think we all feel is very important for our community to have. So if you ever want any more information, from the state, I certainly provide it. I just wanted to give you all this press release and let you know that Oregon's not having as many issues as other states, but it's immune from the general nationwide trend.
Yeah, these things go in cycles too, but I'm glad we protect ourselves.
Yeah. Speaking of cycles, another presentation I did, the first Supreme Court case in the modern era that dealt with this was, I will say it was in the late 80s. And you can find the case online and list the 25 or 25 books that were the subject of the challenge, and you read that, and it's now all stuff. It's like, this was what people.
Controversial.
Yeah, this was controversial. Want to get a novel on there, and things that are now just part of it. So yes, it is all very cyclical. It's
not to minimize the seriousness of it.
Yeah.
You just have to remember that it does go in cycles. So
yes. Are there any questions about anything in the director's update, or any questions?
Well, not questions, just more like just wonderings. One was, so with planning classes and offerings that the library does, just kind of maybe a report at some point over how this is made. I mean, obviously we know that there's individuals that are heads of the different part of the library. I'm just curious, like the input that's given when it's decided to keep a topic going or a activity going, when it's changed. And just, some of them keep, some of them change, some of them, I would be curious on how the inputs, provided and then they're made on that.
Yep.
I think it would be good to tie to the operational plan how do those two,
Yeah, however it makes sense. Yeah.
you know, it's a good question. And I think, you know, it's kind of our first go with the standalone or separate standalone exactly, but a distinct operational plan. And I'd kind of like to have that question answered in relationship to the operational plan.
Okay. We can certainly do that. The very general thing is the answer is we look at our strategic priorities and, you know, are they consistent with that? Generally, everything we put on the field is consistent with that. Getting to the more nitty gritty, we do take input from community members. We hear a lot of requests for a certain program. You know, we can evaluate that. I don't want to speak too much for my programmers.
Mm-hmm.
You know, some of it is budget. Some of it is a lot of it. There's a lot that goes into is like, is this our lane? You know, is this you know, we get ideas for programs. Like, is the library the right person, the right organization or entity to offer this program, or is it something that some other, you know, maybe all those offers, or maybe something we can partner with on some of them, and then often, sometimes it's just another library we read about this library did this really cool program. We'll try it. Just kind of throw it against walls, see what sticks. But I will have the leads.
However that, works.
Yeah.
And
Right.
it was definitely connected kind of to budgets and, you know, as we get closer to like starting to talk about that with the biennium coming up. How that, you know, how we can advocate and, you know, how like we did before. So that was kind of wrapped into that.
Okay. I will just set expectations on the budget aspect of it. You know, when we're putting the budget together, we talk with our select. You know, we do not have them say, I need, you know, your schedule of programs for the next 2 years and how much they're going to cost. We just kind of look at, okay, what did we spend, you know, last year and what worked and what didn't work, and, you know, do we have capacity to do more? Okay, we also need, you know, some funding to go along with that. So I just want to set expectations that it's, you know, and it's that. But yeah, we can certainly, that would be a really good topic to have discussion. So, yeah, that might be a good. I'll try to get it before we can get it before. We can definitely get it before we start talking about a bunch of stuff. Okay. Thank you for that.
Any other questions or comments about Greg's report? Okay, were there any public comments this time? None. Okay, moving on to discussion items. We're at 5B, review of the library display policy draft.
Yes. So thank you. I want to say it was towards the beginning of the year, in January. I come to everybody here after our last holiday season. I'm going to share, you know, some comments we had received from community members. I had shown the board kind of different types of display policies that different libraries around the country had. We tried, you know, kind of the small, medium, and large versions, right? You know, there's some succinct ones, some that went into a little more detail, and some in some larger county systems, which were just, you know, 9 pages of, you know, yes, this, no, this, yes, this. And the feedback that we got from the board was that, yes, it would be good for us to have a policy which, you know, explain to the public how we, you know, make these choices. And I think there's also a preference for the short version, you know. So based on that feedback, we went out and found this. This is actually this template. This is a pretty common template that's seen in lots of different libraries. I think this is one of those that one library put it together and lots of other libraries said, this really works really well. So, you know, we put in a few things to make it specific to Oregon City. So presenting the draft to you. I have given this to our our programmers as well, and they're very supportive of it. They did not have any significant feedback as of yet. During the course of time, I'm going to make sure all of it's by legal counsel, just to make sure that they don't have any issues with it, but I'm fairly certain that there will be nothing in here that strikes them as problematic. So I just wanted to get your feedback, if you had any, on this policy. My goal would be to bring a final version to this body next month so that we can have it passed and in place. When we start doing some new displays all year round, of course, but during the holiday season is when we do some additional cultural related. So I would love to have this in place to help answer any questions that we might get from the community. So with that, are there any feedback or questions?
Can you expand a little bit on the very last sentence?
Let's see. Residents of other library service areas should contact their local library to discuss their.
Yeah, what happens then?
So that was trying to, so we write our policies. So we are the library for our service area, right? So in that, if somebody comes, so the situation I could see is that somebody comes into your library and says, I do feel that I think your policy, your display is wrong. I don't like it. So similar to our development policy, one of the first questions we ask is, well, are you a member of the community, that access to support our library and for whom we are trying to provide library service? And if the answer is no, that they are, a resident, Alla or Oklahoma County, say, well, if you want to talk to your local library about library displays, that would be a good place to talk. We basically, as our collection development policy, somebody who's outside of the service area doesn't, I guess, call it standing, right? They don't necessarily have standing to initiate a challenge to remove materials because they are not a part of our community in our service area. So that was a development policy, and that's what I tried to put in here.
So am I right in saying basically what this says is you don't have a right to complain to us?
You can certainly complain, we will certainly have the feedback. I would not, like the collection development policy, that is not a challenge that would come to the library board.
I was wondering whether, reading this, the expectation was that person's librarian would contact you if necessary.
Oh,
okay. You might clarify that.
That's a very good point. Yeah. But the idea was, the community that I would say it that way. I would say, every library tries to create programs and collections and displays that are representative of their community's needs.
Gotcha.
And so if you are a member of a different community, it's not a reasonable expectation that our community, this is what our job is to try to channel the needs and desires and feedback of our community. If somebody from another community who has their own library, they are welcome to share that feedback with their library board that represents them, and they can
clarify.
Yeah. So, and as long as everybody's philosophically okay with that.
But I like how you clarified that for us. That you said, you can contact your local library. These are intended for residents, citizens, patrons of the Oregon City Library to reflect our community.
Right.
Like I think that sums up the policy well.
Yes, because it's very specific, and then if somebody from outside has a concern, go back home, and have it.
Well, I mean, they go through the policy, or the reconsideration, that's line right above that there is a way that they can be heard.
Well, there is, but in our reconsideration policy,
Yeah.
one of the first things we had is, are you a resident of the Oregon City Library Service area? Because again, we are trying to build the collection that reflects the needs and desires of our community, and that might be very from what another community wants to see in their library. But since they're not, part of our community, we might not, we don't escalate that challenge to the level of come to you guys.
Because I was going back to as part of the process, they talk to the person that oversees that department first, and then went to youth. There was certain steps before they went and came to see us.
Okay.
So I guess that's what I was thinking of the process for reconsideration, that there's internally have some steps that you ask or kind of guide people through before any request would come to the board.
Right. And I can state that we always talk. Right. Yeah. We're always going to have a conversation with folks and explain why we do what we do. It's not like we're going to say, there's no. So I can certainly add that.
Okay.
So that's good feedback.
Any other comments on the draft? So we'll see this brought back in October,
I think
in
so.
final form, and you're not asking us to approve anything today.
No,
we're just
not
asking
today.
for input.
Yeah, just
Okay.
any other feedback or input or anything
And I
that you got.
Yeah, just that individuals that might not be here that because it would be coming back as a final in a month, that they, just a reminder to review, because I would hate for them to see that final and then have some feedback on it. If they can get us the feedback in that month, then seems like that would be a more appropriate time to provide the final, because we are missing a couple.
Yes, so I will do some extra outreach to the folks there, and and we have, if there was somebody who didn't have the opportunity before, then it felt really strongly that November. Right.
Oh, right, yeah.
So
We're not rushed.
yes. And I will remind folks that the typical displays that we have done in the past in the lobby area, they are focused on different world traditions during the holiday, different cultural observances. I'll be honest, probably the one that causes the most consternation is the menorah. It is having a menorah, and we present it as a cultural, not a religious, icon. And the most frequent question we get is, why do you have a menorah there, not a nativity scene? And so we always try to say, these are other cultural celebrations that happen in our community. We feel that we do have a secular Christmas tree, which we feel addresses that. We also have quite a lot of material, that anybody who is looking for information on Christian celebrations and Christian holidays, we support that. We make that happen. Our goal is always to maybe expose people to something that they might not be familiar with. So that's kind of the way we approach it, and I think that's consistent with our library board's goals and desires, and everybody's okay with that. But of course, if there were ever any questions or you didn't feel that, please let me know. It's our goal is to reflect what the community wants and needs. Okay.
Thank you. All right. Any comments, concerns? Okay, moving on to communications. What do you have to say, Larry, from the Friends?
I had a pretty active meeting last night. For one thing, the bookstore continues to break records for sales. They rose for $8,000 in August, which is pretty phenomenal.
That's
really
amazing, yes.
And they also received a $500 donation for use specifically for children's services. I'm sure we can come up with something to make use of that. I want to make sure I word this correctly.
I'll jump in if
They agreed in concept to the idea that rather than requesting individual amounts for specific programs throughout the year, that Greg would come up with a list of an amount to cover the entire year, which would serve to simplify both the library and the Friends problems of constantly having the same thing come up over and over. But that was an agreement in concept.
yes.
And it will have to be formalized.
We just wanted to make sure that they were okay with that worked for them before we brought a formal proposal, because I would hate to put them in a position to have to turn something down. So.
And the other thing was that for the first time, really, they agreed that they would contribute to other organizations other than the library when they get small requests for support of the same activities that they are formed to do for the library. In other words, for example, a school library would send a request saying, gee, we've got a fundraiser. Would you contribute to our fundraiser? And in the past, they said no, but they agreed time that they would start doing it, and no gift would be more than $25.
Oh, okay.
So I think that solves the problem of looking. I mean, you're in favor of libraries, but you won't come up with a lousy 25. Something back up some relation on there.
Yes, and if I may, I think it's not necessarily $25 in cash. It would be a $25 gift certificate to the bookstore, which will bring people into the bookstore and get them connected with the Friends of the Library, which in the long term only can benefit us. So
Good marketing.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Deb, okay. Heidi, do you have anything for us?
The of AM planning, helping plan Indigenous People Day, which is at Clackamas Community College on October 13th from 11 to 3, and there will be a link again there as a representative giving away books for kiddos and adults, because there'll be an array of books that complete a scavenger hunt. So that's happened the last.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, actually, we're gonna double up on books this year, so there'll be a link table there, and we're trying to get them next to each other. So it's going to the Oregon City table.
Great.
And so I'm stacked for the day. So there will be links stacked at one table. There will be city stacked at the city table, but we want to be next to each other, and we're both buying half books. So, but means we can double the amount of books that we were able to take our book list and link bought half of them at their full allocation. We bought the other half, spent our full allocation. So there's more books available to give away to people completing.
Right, so those are by Indigenous authors or topics that, touch the different topics that are happening, being addressed and highlighted during Indigenous People Day. So.
And I do want to give credit to, when we were talking about the books that we're buying, I really want to give credit to our communications department. Our communications department had some money that they were willing to throw our way and help us purchase those books. So very, very nice.
So that's at the Environmental Learning Center on Clackamas Community College, October 13th, 11 to 3.
Okay. All right. The foundation, we did not meet in August, and we didn't meet in September either, but we managed our business through emails, and really good news that the foundation is going to contribute $250 to the Oregon City Schools Oregon Battle of the Book.
Yeah.
And so OBOB is pretty big in the Oregon City School District, and that means that the foundation support will go as part of a book plate thing with other organizations. So more than 700 books distributed to the Oregon City School District. So I'm pretty excited about that, because my grandkids are in OBOB over in Newburgh. So, it's a great project for kids, really encourages and discussions of books and team spirit, and a lot of work goes into it. So I was really pleased that the foundation support OBOB. And then the fundraiser for the foundation is scheduled for April 3rd, 2025 at the Ainsworth House, sometime late afternoon. So mark your calendars for the foundation fundraiser on April 3rd. That's a Thursday. So it was well attended and productive last year, and we're hoping for the same level of success and more this time, because people will be familiar with it. A theme is emerging, and you'll hear more details as time goes by. So anything else?
Yeah, the TAC. So the TAC, their first meeting of the year, and they were new members that were introduced. They spent the time getting to know each other, reviewing the bylaws of the TAC, and then they also discussed areas of interest, which includes a manga group, completing the plant wall, which is almost done. Yeah, and there's still a lot of excitement and energy around the Stacks newsletter. So
yeah, great.
Yeah,
great.
Yeah, we're really excited about the plant wall. Sabrina, credit, she's keep plants alive. Get the crash course and maintaining plants. But I think we should have absolutely her thing.
They said by the end of this week or next week at the latest.
Good. And I'll encourage folks, if you want, I think screens and arms. The other thing that I love, they had their nameplates.
Yes,
they decorated.
Did. Very creative.
Fun. That's good.
Very, very, very.
How many students are involved in that?
So they can have up to 13. They don't have a full group yet. They had 4 people interview, and all 4 are now on the TAC. I can't remember, because they've had some that graduated. Yeah. So I don't know the exact number. I think it might be 9. Yeah.
I was thinking,
Yeah, well, it's early in the year too, and they're just getting organized in their heads for the change from a summer person to school person. Anything else?
No.
Thank you. All right. Is there anything for the good of the order, just in general? And I think we're ready to adjourn.
okay,
All right. Thanks very much, everyone.
thank you.
And rain.